Hey everybody, Motorpoet59 here. The other day I was on Facebook. Now I don't even remember if it was on my timeline or in one of the political groups I'm in. I'm only in a couple of them. I don't feel like spending all my time uh, dealing with politics. Most of the things I'm involved in, groups I'm in on Facebook, have to do with history or the railroad. But anyway, someone posted something about what the Republicans need to do if they want to get back in power in advance of the upcoming midterms and yada yada. And I said, what we need to do is get rid of the rhinos. That's what we need to do. And one of the someone replied to me. It's a gal that I don't know her personally, but I just know her through talking about. She's a conservative, a very solid conservative, and she made the comment that there are too many Republicans throwing that term around, rhino, throwing that around too loosely. And I never really thought about it before, but she's absolutely right. And I let her know, hey, you know what? I agree with you. There are people in the Republican Party that are out there. I am not a moderate Republican, but I'm also not an extremist. I understand that certain things need to be done to get along. Ronald Reagan understood that. He was able to work with liberals, but liberals were a lot different back then. But anyway, one of Ronald Reagan's tenets was Republicans are not to talk bad about other Republicans, in a public forum. And the internet wasn't around, obviously. Then he was talking about Republicans talking about other Republicans in newspapers and on news shows. And he was very serious about that. And that's the way things were. We didn't do that. But now things have become so divided, in the gap between the people who are willing to actually work together. And I'm not talking about capitulating. I'm not talking about giving up. I'm not talking about switching sides. Reagan knew you had to do things to work. Bill Clinton, as a Democrat, knew you had to get in the middle somewhere to get things done. But no one had to give anything up. There's a difference between giving things up and compromising to make things work. And sometimes you're going to piss off the people in your party. They're not going to agree with you. I didn't agree with everything that Ronald Reagan did, but I agreed with most of the things that he did and said, and that's as close as you're ever going to get with any candidate. And when you have someone who is either in office or running for office, and their end goal differs a little from you, that doesn't mean they're a rhino. People are allowed to have different ideas about how to get things accomplished. When I'm talking about rhino, I'm not talking about those kind of people. I'm not talking about people who are maybe even moderate. Those people aren't rhinos. They want to get things done. It's really hard to make that happen anymore. I understand that, because the Democrats are not true American liberals anymore, not very many of them, and they're the modern liberal isn't interested in debate. They are not interested in facts or truth. They're not interested in any of that. All they're interested in is their own narrative. And the extreme right are now the same way. Maybe they've always been that way, but until the last decade or so, the extreme right, the fringe out there, didn't really have much of a voice. The internet, social media, has given them that voice, and that's why they are heard so loudly today. And hey, you know what? They're just as entitled to their opinion as I am, and they're just as entitled to their opinion as the liberals and progressives with whom they so vehemently disagree. But they have to stop calling other Republicans rhinos just because they have a disagreement with them. They have a set way of looking at things, and I actually have a couple of friends that are like this. And if anyone steps outside of any of that, they're a rhino. They're a traitor. And that's just not the way I look at it. So if you're one of those Republicans who understands that you're not always going to agree with everything that a candidate or someone who's already been elected or a policy or a debate, I'm not talking about you. I'm not calling you a rhino. The rhinos are the people who have stepped away from the conservative platform. They're still, and that is what it is, Republican in name only. I'm talking about the people who I'm talking about Republicans who voted for Joe Biden or didn't vote for Trump. And look what's happened. Look what's happened. If the rhinos that I'm talking about, if that's not the way they had looked at things, and if they didn't have their silly way of looking at things, we'd have won that election. Even with all the shenanigans that I'm sure occurred, it wouldn't have been an issue. The rhinos, in my opinion, cost the Republicans that election, cost Trump that election. And their reasoning was no more valid than the reasons that the left didn't like him. The issues that they tried to stand on with the left where Trump was concerned have all were proven to not be true during his term in office, and it's been proven that the left are the ones who have followed through with all those things they thought Trump was going to do, like crash the economy, start a war. All those, Trump did none of that, not even close. But Biden has, and you've got Republicans out there who either didn't vote or voted for Biden. Those are the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who have vacated the conservative platform and voted against the Republicans for, like I said, superficial reasons. So when I talk about rhinos, or if you are on my Facebook or any of the groups that I do occasionally post on with my politics, know that if I'm talking about a rhino, that if you're one of those people who has vacated the party, you're the ones I'm talking about, not the people who just have disagreements with those elected officials who are making decisions right now. And if you know what I'm talking about, then you know which elected officials I'm talking about. That's all I got to say about that. What do you think about rhinos? Are you one of the people who calls anybody out that disagrees with the way you look at things? Or are you one like me who doesn't use that term so loosely? Let me know in the comments below. Shoot me an email at motorpoet59@gmail.com. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell if you want to be notified of future content. I'll see you all later.